and Forsaken a player that would favor the Zenyatta in a lot of
Sure.
situations.
Well, I mean,
So, yeah.
we look at the Spicy Boys as well, who are very similar in that regard there as well. You saw Spo tried to make that Zenyatta work as much as he could, especially on Route 66. I think he got hooked like 3 spawns in a row, though, and he did switch over towards Lucio, which ultimately allowed them to finish just ahead of the mark that had been set prior by their opponents. So, yeah, both teams could sort of go for that one in this situation here, but we kind of called Forsaken a bit of a Zenyatta specialist. You know, it's the kind of guy that we really can expect him to do well on, and one reason why this is such an interesting matchup. And Zombs, of course, on the 76. No real shock to us here. Defending on that second stage, the Wild West, the Westworld stage, if you want to call it that, will be important to deal with Zombs up on that high ground. Otherwise, he will have too much free reign.
I do feel that most competitive support players are Zen mains just playing Ana for the time being. I feel like there's a lot of teams I look at their Ana player, I'm like, yeah, they prefer Zen, but they're on Ana for the time being. Forsaken, definitely one of those specialists that we talk about as well. But no surprise on either side. 4 tanks, Lucio and Ana into the mix. So a lot of this is going to be Sickness versus Zombs early on, I feel.
No doubt about it. Spo taking a little bit of damage early on here, and already we're seeing Spicy Boys send and deliver. Decop doesn't quite connect the charge, but the rest of his team are on to the point. Zombs up on high, trying to do as much damage as he can, but he gets hooked in and taken down.
Yeah, peeked a little bit, actually not taken down, stayed alive and shot his hooky in the face, as now it is Spicy Boys cleaning up the remainder of this faction now as Decop does find Shadowburn towards the end, and despite getting that hook over top, they did keep him alive, Zombs, but not for long. Absolutely crushing. Spicy Boys really seem to have figured out offensive Hollywood first.
Well, there's a very confident move there as well. Spicy Boys had no issues in moving straight through that first troke and just planting himself on the point. Decop went for a little bit of a close range charge, as you often do see, but it didn't really matter if he didn't hit that. But now, FaZe have still had enough time to set up on the high ground here. You can see Fact Fiction now on that Winston. Zombs, though, not actually set up high and doesn't have the time to get there. We'll see how that affects them.
Well, this is interesting. They're running triple DPS now. Shadowburn's on Genji, Mikey onto the Pharah instead. So some comfort picks very likely coming out as they try to turn up the aggression here.
Yeah, a little bit split at the moment though, FaZe. You can see the kind of, half of them are in the back lines of Spicy Boys and half aren't. It's going to be a self-destruct coming straight on through. It won't catch on towards anyone. Maybe just the zone is enough for Sickness now, as the payload's still moving forward. Micah on the Pharah does get caught. Sickness catches him in his heels as he himself gets up towards the high ground, and it's going to be tough living for Raucus here. The boot not going to be enough. He'll be taken down, and the payload marches on.
This is unfettered aggression on Spicy Boys on Hollywood. This is exactly what they came out looking at against Rise Nation. Not slowed down one iota from first until about second point. We'll see if FaZe can actually get something going here, but there might be a Graviton incoming from Tig to shut them out as soon as they peek around this door.
And that could be done and dusted there as well. There'll be no chance for FaZe to do anything about this Wild West phase of the map after that one comes in. But now Soundbearer are going to be used here for the side of Spicy Boys. That's the Earth Shatter coming down. Fact Fiction's caught, but it's going to be the Transcendence from Forsaken. He's in the mix. Shadowburn benefiting from that healing, but a late Graviton is going to tie the entirety of FaZe together, and it's just Mike up in the air as well on his Pharah. It will be an attempt for Fact Fiction to try and slow this one down, but he's all on his own, and that Scientist is going to have to get out.
Mikey got 2 though in the back lines, took down both supports. Both Lucio and Ana went down to the rockets from above, and they're trying to bring this back. Mikey does finally go down to a coming in soldier, but that soldier's on the retreat, just wanted to take him out of the sky. So some heroics from the TF2 player onto Pharah. I've always expected we're going to see TF2 players on Pharah, because it's similar enough to soldier that if you have hours and hours of just projectile muscle memory, you should be able to kill it on it. Mikey looking good so far.
Yeah, actually, really crucially, again, it was a matter of the Spicy Boys being split. They had their tanks up on the payload, but Mikey was able to focus down the squishier guys towards the backside there as well. Turn that one around very quickly. A little bit of a tricky position to be on the attacking team now. The payload's a long way from spawn, but we do have Sickness pushing forward. He'll take the high ground. Gonna force Mikey away. That's an Earth Shatter coming in. Zombs and Raucus knocked to the ground, and this is looking very, very good for Spicy Boys now. Fiction backing away inside the saloon. Shadowburn is up on high, but he's not finding any targets.
Forsaken just 1v1 to Zarya. That is the lone highlight of this defense right there as they get rolled over afterwards. That is a second point. Spicy Boys look like they have this map for the most part figured out. They're going to have a couple ultimates in here too, and they are just so aggressive. There goes Zombs late into this push, can open up some room for them as they take it to third.
And we'll probably still see FaZe here at the moment persisting with a triple DPS defense attempt. Just Fact Fiction now is going to be their solo tank in this situation, and he's got a lot of work to do, especially now. Casper's going to have himself the attack visor. There's no Reinhardt shield to hide behind. That could be big. Now FaZe are going to engage to try and make something of this one. Barrage coming through, but everyone for Spicy Boys have already gotten out. They're backing away. It's a disengage here, and they're going to just try and force some ultimates and come back stronger next fight.
Yeah, they did get the full kill. It's a really interesting defense what they're running. The best defense being a good offense, I guess, is their ethos here right now, because they're just sending Factor Fiction in immediately and then rushing everyone they can with them. Shadowbird's going to have a Dragon Blade up now, so I imagine we're going to see the same kind of engagement. Factor Fiction jumps in, causes chaos. Shadowbird looks to clean it up on the Genji.
He needs to stay alive, though. Gets taken a little bit low at the start of the fight, but you're right. Again, it's Fact Fiction going through. Dragon Blade now for Shadowburn. Wants to find the backline. He's duped away by Spo. He's trying to get up in Tick's face as well, but Shadowburn can't find his target. Still, Spo was found by Fact Fiction. Great work by him for 2. And there's Forsaken finding Sickness on the backside. Another successful fight. One of few in this map here for FaZe, and they will keep that payload stationary.
I love this kind of composition against 4 tanks, and then yes, it is a higher skill level composition in my opinion too, but it's a chaos comp. Where are you going to look? Where are you going to focus your energy? To the skies, to the left, to right, to your flanks, to the jumping wings?
Sleep dart.
It is everywhere.
Fact Fiction sleep in the backlines here. This could be an opening, an opportunity, perhaps Sickness with 3. That's just going to make it even worse for FaZe. Fact Fiction lacking in the start of the fight, now pretty much on his own. They're going to have to press forward, and Casper gets just what he needs. As attack visor is going to force the Zombs away. Shadowman tried to get into the backline, but a very, very quick grenade on towards him made it very, very hard for him to stay alive. And it is going to be Spicy Boys on the approach. Mikey, on his own at the moment, in a relatively safe position, but will have to back away as Fact Fiction swinging fists.
As I praised this composition earlier for what it can do, what it cannot do is prevent self-destructs, things like that, because there is very limited shielding on this team. Earth Shatters are always going to find pay dirt just like that one as well. Only Mikey alive to try to keep this back. He's getting bullied into the corner and Ghostbustered down by Sickness. They're now just on a stall tactic to try to add some more time to this clock.
Yeah, it's desperation, though, to say the very least. The Zombs on the payload, a quick recall and Forsaken up around the side now. Fact Fiction actually getting here, and it may have been an opportunity to tip this back in FaZe's favor, but they've lost too many players. Self-destruct on the payload. Mikey knows he has to eat that one. Immediately desuited, and he's knocked away from the payload. No chance for him to stall things out. And this super aggressive defense comp from FaZe doesn't seem to buy them too much time.
Well, we saw how it works when it was working really well too. It's like I love the chaos that it brings. Is when you're trying to find this Genji who just dashed behind you. Oh, there's a Tracer, and then to the skies there's Mikey. So if they can just have a little more sustain in there too, maybe it needs to be a little tweaked a little bit. But I don't know. I feel like today we've seen like this is a cool comp. I really like it, and then it just still doesn't work. Slasher, what do you think?
I could see them more just trying stuff out and doing whatever, along with this kind of working a little bit better once the patch hits. Triple DPS works a little bit easier, and right now it's the hardest to ever make work throughout the competitive Overwatch's history. So they're a team that could definitely do it. Of course, Mikey with the skills in TF2, and Zombs came from a DPS background with his hitscan play, and then has switched over to more tanks of Zarya and D.Va for the last several months. So they're a team that could definitely do it. But right now, obviously, it's going to be so hard to run that against Ryan and D.Va, who can Earth Shatter you and combo you and even get in your face and kill everything. And especially because they were also ran Zen Ana the entire time, not Lucio. So I feel like it's more FaZe just doing whatever right now.
Huh. Well, I mean, reasonable, and also noticeable. If you're a Reinhardt, if you're in Decop's position, there's no enemy Reinhardt to worry about. You don't have to play a shield mind game. And like you said earlier on, Hex, those big impactful Earth Shatters are much easier to hit. You actually just have to aim them correctly and, I don't know, not get them Winston bubbled or something similar. So, had to be FaZe all piling in and making it happen right now. But, I mean, they're going up against a team in Spicy Boys. 5 out of 6 of them have Fragger, DPS player backgrounds, right? So these guys know how to play that role. And even if they are playing tanks for the most part, they know how to deal with this aggression and be put in that position. So Spo going to be on that Symmetra here again. We'll see how it works out.
That's how it's done.
Well, yeah, they've played. This is definitely the map that Spicy Boys has shown the best on, right? Their defense here, if they can get this shield gen, it's going to go right in the house, and they're going to dare you to try to deal with it. Zombs on the Tracer might be a good answer to that, but if the defense that they played around the Symmetra was so impressive last time.
It worked perfectly as well. Cheeky little shield generator thrown in the cafe, and it was well defended. And you can actually see here that Spicy Boys are giving a lot of ground. They're backing up much towards the cafe, expecting a dive, and it is forthcoming here. Fact Fiction already goes up on high, and Shadowburn's in the mix here. Mikey goes down first to Cozzy, and Fact Fiction's the only one to get a kill. It's only Spo. Dream's going to get himself too, and already Shadowburn realizes it's time to turn tail. That dive has fallen flat on its face.
Yeah, unfortunate for them, the one small thing that went wrong for Spicy Boys was that Spo did die early on there. Essentially, you would love to just save some of the damage for him to do so you can get that teleporter or shield gen up early on. Only at 50% right now, so the window is not quite closed for FaZe, but they have to win this next fight.
You definitely want it in the first fight if you can get a teleporter, but it won't be the case here. Another dive comes through, a little bit staggered here. Shadowburn actually kind of mistimed his jump, and he gets taken down by Spo there. Catches him out there, of course, with the laser beam now 7 meters instead of 5. It's hard to dodge. In fact, you can't. Decop getting yourself 2 quick kills there. Forsaken now falling. In fact, Fiction was left towards the end. It was a matter of the Spicy Boys picking up the squishy targets there with the Genji falling first. Not much bite to their bark.
Yeah. Well, you look at what Symmetra can do, and she is a really fine answer to a Genji now. It used to be able to get us out mobility or jump around too much because the range, those 2 meters added are a world of difference. Decop in a set piece right now, waits for 2 to come in, so Shadows 2, and just takes him down immediately.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to stand on his own. That's just ridiculous there. He was pretty much set up there on his own. It's a 2 minutes left now. 2 minutes, that's not a lot of time to work with, and there's a few ultimates for FaZe, but that was devastating.
Well, he'd set up there before in their previous match because looking for a charge, take out one of the tanks into his team early on, but then when they squishies just walked by him and didn't notice the giant hulking Reinhardt in the corner, he just Earth Shattered and took a boat down. Spo's gonna drop it.
Soms is going to try and come forward now as well. Another Dragon Blade coming out from Shadowburn, but he's taken down immediately. Not good. Self-destruct lands in the middle of the bubble and doesn't catch anything for sickness. He'll have to resuit now, but it doesn't matter. The rest of his team has done the dirty work for him. Again, Spo featuring on the scoreboard on Symmetra, and again, another hold here for the Spicy Boys. It's a shield generator placed inside the cafe, keeping them topped up and ready to rumble.
And at what point would you ever go teleporter if you're this team? They're not dying at all, so it's just going to make them even harder to kill. And I just love the positioning here. Yeah, you can get in there and try to take it down. It is a suicide mission, very likely, because they're defending it so well. Kosi's going to be camping here on the cafe. Spo's just waiting for someone to dare to try to take down his shield jet.
Graviton coming out here as well, only catching Tig at this stage, and still, it's going to be a kill for Shadowburn. He takes the Zarya down. A little bit of that infrastructure finally getting cleared out now. Shield gen dropping. Spo actually gets one kill on the backside, and Sickness and Decop, the tanks are standing tall here. They're staking their claim towards this point, and that may have been one of the 2 last good fights available for FaZe here, but Spicy Boys have held strong through that. And a lot of those ults were drawn out of FaZe in their desperation to capture this first point.
It's such a commitment, too, to dive that hard and take down the shield generator. Yes, they did, and it looked like they were coming out of it, but there was so much damage being done by the Symmetra turrets as well. Before Spo switched, he was already up at 20%. Again, just because the placement of those turrets, everyone very weak, and then you saw 4 kills rack up immediately for Spicy Boys because of all that damage they'd already done.
And 12 seconds left, Hex. That's not a lot of time at all. Casper is being accosted by Shadowburn up on that high ground towards the water tower, but Casper's staying alive, and now the rest of the team for FaZe need to get themselves sorted. That's good. It's a hook on towards Decop. He got grenaded early, taken low and down. Even Casper eventually gets dealt with by Raucus, and a nano boost on towards Tig. He doesn't have a whole hog, so he's going to have to make the most of that left click, but it's going to be tough to get the damage down. He's discorded, he's forced to take cover. Point will be captured, and now Tig wants to just stall this one out. That's going to be a tough one.
Perhaps FaZe trying to prove a point here. They look very successful now that they've switched to a much beefier composition. No longer are they running those DPS heroes, switching back to a Roadhog, Zarya, and Reinhardt, and it just made the engagement that much easier for him. With those giant health pools, giant shields, he can kind of just saunter onto the point, and with that teleporter down, it is going to be FaZe finally breaking through with a standard 4 tank switch.
It reminds me of Envious actually playing 5 divas, consistently in a week of tournaments, just to show that maybe this wasn't exactly the competitive mechanic that we were hoping to see. But anyway, let's look at Zombs here as well. He does have the Graviton ready to rumble here, and this would be a great way to just keep the momentum going. Lets it go. It's both tanks caught in the mix, but a good follow-up there for Fact Fiction. The charge comes in. Decop being thrown around then like a ragdoll. Still healthy, not quite enough. He's going to be taken down after his shield falls. Zombs are eventually able to break through. this is good for FaZe. One by one, they're picking off the Spicy Boys, and they're going to make progress at least around this corner here. Casper switching over towards the Tracer. Interesting, but FaZe have got a lot more ultimates ready to show.
Yeah, now it does look like it is Spicy Boys a bit on the back foot. Whenever you see switch-ups like that, they're looking for answers. And the economy from FaZe has just been really next to stellar. They're going to have 5 up here. Zom's only had to use the 1 to completely win that team fight. Rocka's got to be a little careful opposition. Giant Earth Shatter comes in.
That's big. And Decop gets put up against the wall there as well. A great follow-up on the biotic grenade from both ends here. In fact, the Sickness now is caught on the payload, trying to stall, going to be going at least for a bit of a self-destruct attempt here, but Zoms just sidesteps it, gets on the other side of the limo. That's not your standard limo. That's from Reinforced Steel. It's going to be Sickness again, attempting to keep some presence here for his team, but they're quite split. Decop and Spo trying to come back in. Now the Graviton comes in again. Good follow-up there from Shadowburn and Forsaken, and FaZe looking like teetering on the edge of losing that fight. Hex, they're going to make this second checkpoint.
They're going to get it. That limo's got to have EMP shielding or something, given the passengers inside of it, right? It's a security feature. That's why you're able to...
It's literally a bomb shelter.
Literally. So yeah, Dreams is now still on this Tracer, trying to been finding some payload, but it has been all FaZe since they switched to this composition. One of the reasons why you don't see so much Zenyatta and those there is because even through Transcendence, teams that are bio-grenaded still die. There's nothing worse than being in an ultimate, a healing ultimate, and still getting cleaned up because you're just not getting any heals. What happened to Factor Fiction there too, but they are doggedly onto this Zenyatta still, getting a lot going on, and see if Dreams can actually do something. He's been rather quiet this game, has the pulse bomb ready.
Graviton not available here as well, so that could have almost been an auto win in that fight at that stage for Spicy Boys, a chance to get a vantage point or at least be able to hold on here. But again, Decop eats another biotic grenade. He's going to fall down there. Shadowburn is forced to commit deep, but he does find a kill when Walker's in the back line. He's got space to work. He's dishing out the damage with that biotic rifle, and now it's going to be from one step to another, swinging in vines like Tarzan. It is FaZe pressing forward.
It's so cool what Raucus is doing, too. Every time that shield drops on, he just throws a grenade at him. He's not looking for these giant 4 or 5 person grenades. He's looking to instill a lack of confidence in their front lines, because when he's bio-grenaded, that's already half health. He has no choice but to keep the shield up and walk back. And when you go give tanks a choice on how they're going to play, you can absolutely exploit it. Every time he dropped that shield, he got bio-grenaded and cleaned up. Can't be a good feeling.
Not only is it an appreciable chunk of damage that you receive, but also you can't just put your shield down and charge in and hope your backline's going to heal you up. It's not going to happen. Yep. Slasher, we finally saw FaZe break through, though, after the first point hold.
Yeah, they go 4 tanks, and then they barely lose a team fight the rest of the map. I am so surprised, Mitch. Never could have saw it happening.
Ah, man. Why? Like, you knew what Slasher was going to say, Uber. Why'd you, you know... He's not wrong.
Sometimes I just like enabling his grizzling, right? I enjoy it.
I encourage FaZe to have fun. You know what? When Misfits ran triple DPS in a real tournament at OGN, and I saw a lot of people giving them flack, I even heard Doa and I think Achilles saying that they were like hesitant to switch. I think that they should try it out, and that team has made things like that work before. DreamHack and FaZe is a team that could definitely make this comp work and win on a consistent basis and not get run over by tanks. So if you want to run it, even though the patch hasn't hit, that's fine. It's okay. You do it.
Well, team here, Spicy Boys, been together since November. A very good start for them here in this series and in this tournament, no doubt. Even a chance to top it, but we'll have to wait and see now how our time bank does filter down. It's a minute left for FaZe. It's all they've got ready to work with here. So it's going to have to be pretty quick smart up on this point to take it through. Let's see how they can
up in the corner. He's got his set piece. He's looking for that charge early on. Just barely misses it. It was trying to take that Reinhardt out of position.
Doesn't work out, but he backs away to his team. At least he can get to safety there. Forsaken trying to get some of those balls in there, but not connecting thus far. Decop shield up in front. Micah pulled in the back line there as well, and Casper's going to dispatch him pretty easily. That forces a charge here, and Raucus picks up Decop because his shield went down. It's a 1-for-1 now over on the point, and Raucus and Forsaken all the space in the world to work with, especially while Fact Fiction is running. It's a ball in a China shop in the back line, and now a sound barrier to follow up there. Beautiful stuff, and now it's going to be Tig and Sickness on the point. 2v3, essentially, managing to even it up so far. Tig doing real damage, charged up the particle count.
It's the only fight they're going to get here. Mikey gets slept and then woken up immediately, but that is going to be Spicy Boys able to hold this first point. That was one fight. That's all you had chance at it. It looked decent early on, but Spicy Boys able to heal up and stay alive. I feel that perhaps Decop owes Raucus some money. Just the way he's focusing him down every single fight. Raucus has it out for that tank.
Okay, we talked about, when one team runs a Reinhardt and one doesn't as well. You can always set your tank up for a good shatter if you can remove the enemy Reinhardt earlier on in the fight there. So Raucus definitely treating that Reinhardt as a priority, and I know a lot of teams do that as well, especially how annoying it can be when you get charged at point-blank range by a Reinhardt. It's quite often the option there for them, especially defensively, just because they know they've got a better chance of hitting it. Don't really want one of your players taken out of the fight too early here. But we got a minute 44 here for Spicy Boys. Now, that's enough time to actually get some ultimates churning going in towards, maybe a second or third fight. Looking pretty good for them, and of course, bringing the Roadhog, they're looking for an early pick. If they bring.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have probably 2 attempts at this, depending on how long the first fight goes, whereas FaZe only had the 1 attempt at the offense. Spicy has looked very strong on their offenses here. I don't think Spo is going to be running this Hanzo. Maybe an arrow out the door early on, but he will very likely switch over to a support hero, very likely a Lucio, but maybe his team will let him play Zenyatta here too. So pretty standard compositions coming out on both sides. See where they want to hold. Most teams are just giving up this first choke now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit risky, especially in this position if you're FaZe. If you get 2 or 3 people picked off at that first choke, you're done and dusted, essentially. However, Sickness going to be pushing forward here now. He'll be out in front just to scout out and see what's going on. And Spo is going to be back on that Lucio. Always seems to be the go-to for him when it needs to really be effective. The Decop pressing forward. Great first hook. That's not bad. Because still, Shadowburn's going to be able to get out of trouble. And now we see Spicy Boys on the point.
Yeah, they're retreating, holding a little bit of the high ground bloodless so far, but Zom's going down early is going to be very difficult for them to recover from all the utility of Zarya now out of the mix. We'll see who gets the next kill. Might very well swing this fight. Their own Zarya on Spicy Boys very low, has to retreat, discorded, bubbles himself up, stays alive somehow, does Tig.
This is really nice stuff. They're good Earth Shatter coming through as well. It's going to be Decop laying it down, Forsaken the last to fall along with Mikey, and that should be it, really. It's going to be a desperate sprint for Zoms to try and get there, but he knows it's done. It's going to be Tig that meets him at the door with a smile, a wave, and a kill. And it will be the first map going over towards the Spicy Boys here as well. A team that, like we said, hasn't been around for too long. In fact, just mostly been competing in lower tier tournaments up until this point, showing up big time on this map. FaZe, well, they won't be the first victim if things keep going well for them.
It was such a razor's edge defense. There were so many offensive players who were very low. Tig kept himself alive and a couple of his teammates alive with that Zarya, even through the discords. If so, one piece of damage goes this way or that way, it could have been a completely different defense for FaZe, but the shot calling or target focusing simply wasn't there.
Decop's played quite well in the last series and so far against FaZe. Player from Mexico, for those of you who don't know. They also found him, played with him through the ladder and even the Discord. So this team has come together a lot from more recent talent up through the North American system, which is good to see.
And to be fair, they've had 18 wins in their last 20 games. The last 20 games that have been logged competitively here as well. To be fair, a lot of those games haven't been up against top-tier teams. And if you look at the results of Spicy Boys prior to maybe tonight, for example, you probably wouldn't think that they can really hang with that top tier of teams in North America. But this is a very good showing from them to start off with. We'll have to see what they can produce for us here as well. I mean, they've got losses. They've actually lost to FaZe in the past, quite recently, actually. So this is a good turnaround for them. Again, maybe a little bit closer than we expected with how tight it went, with FaZe getting a bit of a second wind as they went through on the attacking side here. But Temple of Anubis, boys, strap yourselves in. It's going to be an interesting one.
Well, it's going to be an Anubis one, that's for sure. I imagine we will see some Mei. I actually would not mind seeing Symmetra, especially on first point. She's been very strong lately. Not a great many places to put a teleporter safely, especially running against an opposing diva. One of the best spots is way back on first, but you can just launch in a self-destruct there and take down whatever structures she has in her car wash room. But Symmetra's gotten a lot of play on first points of Anubis here. Even last point of Anubis, you don't even have to switch off of Symmetra because she's got that utility now too. So when I think of Anubis, I think of blizzards and I think of teleporters. I imagine we'll see a little bit smattering of both.
FaZe has tended to stay a little bit away from Mei.
Yeah.
And even the Symmetra, it feels like they like the Zen Ana combination, which they've actually been running for like quite a while now.
Forever,
It fits even better once the patch hits, even though Ana is nerfed a little bit. It'll probably still be into play, and removing Lucio is going to be hard whenever you do it, especially when you're playing on offense. Here, for me, it's just whether FaZe is going to try some more antics here on Anubis, or are they going to be like, okay, let's try to win now? There's only a few days left to this patch. Let's try to actually win the game now, or are they going to, you know, be cute again?
Well, I mean, let's talk about that though as well, because there has actually been a little bit of criticism leveled at Shadowburn, maybe more in the general sense of how his team works around him than him himself. But, you know, we know that he's known for his Genji. His Pharah is also very, very good. But, of course, with the way the current meta is, we've seen him have to move towards playing that diva role. And I think one match that everyone sort of called out as an example of this was against Renegades, when it was Shadowburn versus Man of Snow, when Shadowburn was completely outclassed in that 1v1 between the two diva players here. I mean, do we think that's a weakness here for FaZe? Do we think that maybe Shadowburn isn't as strong on diva and maybe justified going towards more of a damaging pick, guys?
I totally believe that's been a big part of the reason why they have not performed so well in the last few weeks, even though they did come second at Vegas. So it's not like they can't do this and make it work against even the best teams. But I think it is noticeable.
What do you reckon?
I would tend to agree. Sorry, just doing lobby stuff. I would tend to agree. Lately, I just feel that there's kind of an area of like, if someone's decent to okay-ish at diva, you're fine putting them on it, right? I mean, the best example I've seen lately is probably Rafa, who I think struggled on diva early on, probably put in the hours, and his diva play lately for Team Liquid has been really good. But then when you have players who just simply don't like it, you know, you're already starting off with like the mental warfare of like, hey, Man of Snow, get on diva. And he's like, I don't want to play diva. Like, do it. And then you already see a team kind of collapse a little bit from that. So I think if you have someone on your team and you want to run a diva and they just really don't like it, you're almost better off saying, okay, then run something similar to what you want, because I've seen it time and again where you put someone needing a diva and then having a player who can play diva are two different things, and I think it goes wrong for a lot of teams when you force someone onto a diva.
It seems like you're one or the other at the moment. You're either a player that kind of enjoys diva and kind of enjoys having that impact, like a Mickey, for example, or you're the kind of player that doesn't really want to play diva, maybe normally a Zarya player or something similar. I mean, I'll use wins as an example of that. I think obviously when we saw Rogue go up against Envy back towards Apex, towards the finals against Envious, it was a bit of a mismatch between divas there, and Wins wasn't exactly loving diva. I know for a fact he dislikes her heavily. I mean, that shows as well when you come into game, when you got players, that don't really like to play that diva, or those that love it. Conversely, you can see a huge difference here. But I mean, Temple of Anubis, we've seen all sorts of weird stuff on this map. We've seen Tracer and Winston on defense, getting up in the high ground, up on the window boxes as they are just before the first choke. We've seen even teams, run Bastion on this map, for an example, as well. More so Korean teams that will do that. Even Widowmaker's been big, though, guys, as well, on the attack, just setting up and forcing teams away from positions that they can defend effectively from.
I love Widow on this map.
It has been doubly, for FaZe, because Shadowburn is not only for him to have to go to be that person that goes and plays diva, but he is one of the best players in the entire world. So you're taking a player that not only has to switch to diva, but then you're also removing him from him playing Genji on probably the highest skill cap hero in all of Overwatch, being maybe the best player for that hero in the entire game, and not letting him just kind of carry the game as we saw him do for many, many months.
Yeah, completely agree. It looks like we might see a little bit of Widow coming out here. Not necessarily a new strategy on Anubis, especially opening for offense. The big question is, when do you switch off it? Do you switch off it? But like you said, Uber, I've always loved Widow without even firing a shot. She changes the battlefield, changes where people can set up. And if you can exploit that by making the other team uncomfortable and putting them in position where the rest of your team can make plays, it can be a game-changing pick.
For a team like FaZe right now, who are not running Reinhardt, they probably need to give up that first central platform, actually, in that main area, because they can't stand there. They don't have a shield to stand behind. They're running Winston, and Zarya, so not safe for them. It means they're actually going to have to play more reactively, and they won't be able to keep tabs on the Spicy Boys for the entire time here. So Casper's going to be on that Widow. We'll have to see what he wants to do. Originally looks up towards the top of the archers to see where they are, but again, we're going to have that push through here, and it looks like FaZe kind of expecting the Widow. They're giving a little bit of respect.
Yeah, definitely an interesting defensive setup here too, as they do collapse on them, but that is sickness, taking down Forsaken early on. That is half of the healing and even damage potential for this FaZe squad, and now they are getting cleaned up. Shadowburn does take one back though, so fight not completely one-sided.
No, that's right. I mean, and Decop as well, very, very deep in enemy territory there on that Zarya. Did get taken down, and that was a window right there where Casper had his perfect scenario. Shots that he could make so comfortably, but look at Shadowburn does chase him down, actually manages to find him now. Does get grenaded by the Ana, but still able to back away. It's going to be Sickness finding Zombs here, but now it's going to be Spo and Sickness on the point. Just the two of them for the moment, and Shadowburn is still at large, still doing damage.
Yeah, Factor Fiction had done a good job of shutting down the opposing Genji with his D.Va still alive. It has been Sickness and Spo just owning this point, and they have no answer to do enough damage to take down that D.Va early. Finally demexed, but that is all we have for point A. That is going to be a capture for the Spicy Boys. Not super impactful for Casper there. He did get on the Widow, made some angles a little bit tricky for people, but not necessarily the picks as we move on to the second point. And he will switch off. He's on to McCree instead.
He had a very good opportunity there as well when the entirety of FaZe were preoccupied with standing on the point, dealing with, you know, the outmatched scenario where so many of the Spicy Boys were on there, but just didn't hit the shots. Did manage to get a kill towards the end. I think it was Forsaken that he did pick up, who was obviously the regular prey of Widowmakers, but now Fact Fiction pushing forward. He's coming out towards the opening, and it's going to be a Dragon Blade from Shadowburn here. A sound barrier on top of that one, and things are looking pretty good so far. Shadowburn showing up, the Dragon Blade finding two foes so far, and even Tig to fall now as Shadowburn gets the reflex. Will be FaZe to set up now and give them some time to actually find some ideal positions up on this second point.
When you're not running the Ana, which they aren't, you still do need to kind of give your Genji an ultimate boost, right? So it's not the nano boost, but it's always been a good combination before Ana was even in the game to throw a sound barrier onto your ulting Genji. Just give him the help, keep him alive, and as long as he's alive, he can do a ton of damage. That's the combination you saw there. There will be probably a nano blade coming up from the other side, though, momentarily. They're getting really deep on this defense, though.
Yeah, look at Mikey as well, well and truly up in the air, and there's no one who can really deal with him right now on the side of Spicy Boys. And Fact Fiction, keeping everyone busy. Nothing Genji can do against the Tesla Cannon. You're not blocking that at all. And Shadowburn does the honors, deals with Spo. Now, Mikey and Forsaken did go down earlier on. It was Casper, who was still at large late on towards the fight, but he will be taken down. And McCree is going to struggle a little bit now if he's going to be pressured so hard. If Mikey gets from angles that really he can't respond to, and if that Winston jumps in his face, the Fact Fiction can be a little bit hard for McCree to find his safe space to do the damage he needs to.
Well, no safe space for McCree. He's just gonna pack it in, and they bring a Tracer out instead. So Tracer can create her own safe space, does not need any help. They're gonna rotate her on right side. Factor Fiction jumps in the back line, but here comes that blade.
Yeah, coming straight on through, and Forsaken trying to keep his team covered here with his Transcendence, but Fact Fiction's put to sleep. Mikey trying to do something about this situation, but the Transcendence is too much. He can't get through the damage, and now it's going to be a 4-for-1 situation in terms of the kills coming through. Shadowburn and Fact Fiction, the last two standing, they're going to be forced off this point. Beautiful double there from Shadowburn, but eventually will be put to bed, and that may have just been enough here. Staggering out the spawns at least a little bit now, and the Sickness and Casper trying to stay around on this point, but enough for FaZe to come back through to stop them.
No, this is Anubis. You can't win a fight when you only have 3 people remaining on the point. The respawns are simply too close for it. You need to start to even think about winning Anubis last. You need to start with a 6-0 and hope that everything goes perfect for you after that. That's just how good the defender's advantage is on this map. They do have some switch-ups. Mikey did come out onto a... yeah, it took a May momentarily, but that was more of a desperation stall tactic. He's going to get back onto the Pharah instead. Defensive Pharah and Anubis last has always been good.
Especially if you can pop from under the bridge or somewhere where you're not expected to be there. Decop, he gets hit with the pulse bomb, and unfortunately, the healing won't be forthcoming. Shadowburn is able to finish him off, and that essentially will take the heart out of this push here for the Spicy Boys now. It's just a matter of process here as Tig going to be discorded up, picked up by Raucus now as he sends some shots flying in his direction. And Spo desperately trying to get back. He will escape and wait for Decop now and the rest of the Spicy Boys to regroup.
They have been building up and banking ultimates here so they can get in. I think you might want to start it off with a self-destruct just to get them scattered, and then put both of your DPS on the flanks. They both have ultimates ready. That's what they excel at, so you could send that right down the middle, although Casper does switch off. He had Pulse Bomb on Tracer, switches off to the Roadhog instead, so they've got different plans.
I mean, a hook is still the instant pick there as well, Pulse Bomb or not. We'll see what he can create here. We'll definitely be looking for a Pharah or something similar, but a self-destruct coming here to start this fight up. But Fact Fiction gets in the backline. Sickness, after getting desuited, is taken down, but he did manage to claim Forsaken with the self-destruct. Now Tig, it's a Nano Blade coming through. Zom's his first victim. Shadowburn is second. He's trying to get up high and catch Mike here as well. He's forced to concussive blast away from the point to try and escape this one. He has good high ground, but Casper's going to now dislodge him pretty comfortably, and Fact Fiction can only hide behind the bubble. He will have to fall or try and stall as much as he can, and this is a much better start for for the Spicy Boys in this fight.
Why does Casper play anything except Roadhog? Every time he switches on to Roadhog, he kicks it off with a 3K there. They're done trying to finish out this map. They started it with the 6-0 that they needed. The kills continue to keep coming down for Spicy Boys. It is just a stall tactic here, but if you can get 1 or 2 kills on defense, you can start switching it around. Casper remains to be an icon in this kill feed.
Beautiful stuff. They already had 2/3 of the capture process done. Now Raucus tries to get there. He's knocked to the ground. 2 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in the time bank here for Spicy Boys. A couple of false starts pushing on towards that second point, but the Roadhog pick made a big difference. And I mean, it's easy for us to now say in hindsight that he should have picked it. But again, he knew that he was valuable. He got rid of the pulse bomb tracer for it, and it worked out beautifully.
I really just do love sending a D.Va self-destruct right down Main Street here, and you're generally not going to get a lot of kills, but that's the area that you feel safest on defending, and it makes everyone scatter. And then when you're running these kind of flanky DPS heroes, and even a Roadhog hook to get people out of position because you have to avoid that bomb, it makes everything else easier to clean up, and you're not generally going to get a 5K doing it just by itself, but it makes so much of the map unusable for the defense, and that's really where the offense found pay dirt after that. It does help that they took out Zenyatta with that self-destruct too.
Without a Reinhardt, your supports who are not so mobile probably don't have cover to get behind, actually. Your Annas and your Zenyatas, there's no shield. Fact Fiction had already jumped into the enemy backline, so there's no bubble available there. If you can't run fast, you're not going to escape that nuclear winter.
No, I can't float fast. Zenyatta, when you see an Ana coming in, you just have to accept your fate, embrace tranquility, and get obliterated into dust. So on defense, it looks like it will be running Asymmetry here, something that you've seen time and again on 2CP maps especially, but now that she's stronger and you're going to get the option of reinforcements, that's why Spo is on that. They're going to run DPS too with Casper. Casper's been all over the place today. And what do you see from the offense here? I think that's probably what they're going to run out with.
Yeah, I mean, Zom's on the Widowmaker, not a huge surprise. Often, we know him as a hit scan player. And again, triple DPS coming in. Again, it's just that Winston. So lacking, of course, a huge tank line. But Slasher, this is kind of what you said to them. This is what you wanted to see. Have a bit of fun.
I mean, there's no Ana either, which is the other broken part of the game currently. So yeah, they are. They're just having a ball, trying to make it work. They're successfully defending this Mei, but no, we'll go right back to Pharah. Forget Mei.
Zom's going to switch as well. Zom switching away from the Widowmaker, going for the Zarya here as well. A little bit more, I guess, durability for this team coming forward, of course. We know him as a Zarya player as well, so no huge surprise. Spo already trying to charge up that next device. Whether it's going to be a teleport or a shield generator remains to be seen, but it looks as if Spicy Boys are more than happy to take the fight to FaZe. Mikey is still up above though, and the shields are coming through here enough to mitigate a lot of that damage. Zoms is going to be the first casualty here.
Zom's going down early is definitely going to hurt their utility, but they do have a nice angle here. They did take the top away from them. Mikey going down immediately after is going to put this into a 4v6 situation, and now it's either fight or get off the pot because they need to either die or start fighting here. Death seems to be the option of choice as Forsaken and Shadowbird go down. Factor Fiction does find a kill, and that's actually really nice to get a late kill like that on the offense. The staggering is going to come in for the defense and offense here. It is just unmitigated bloodbath down there. What's happening?
Yeah, and as attackers, there's nothing wrong with asking for maybe more than you've earned in fights like that. Try and get something off the back of it. And you can see that Shadowburn has already got fairly forward positioning now. He knows that the enemy team are slightly staggered, if not fully. So if he can keep someone busy and prevent them from getting good vantage points just by harassing them and forcing them to keep tabs on him, that's going to be fine. But again, Fact Fiction, we're going to look for him to engage here. No big ultimates right available on the side of FaZe, but that's going to be the Earthshatter from Decomp. He had one ready to roll, and Raucus falls immediately.
Yeah, they sent both of their tanks into the left side there to try to take down Tig. They do eventually get him, but that is all the frontline support that they had. It is still just Winston and Zarya in the back doing something over here. Factor Fiction's going to get out, leaving Zoms to die alone. And he is now in an interesting position as well. It has looked like just the pushes and the initiation, not exactly the most coordinated look coming from FaZe.
No, again, we can see this, the aggression that's inherent in their composition and what they're trying to achieve. But I've got to be honest, Mikey and Forsaken haven't been able to do too much of their own here. The Pharah can be a hit or miss sometimes, especially when they're struggling to really connect those shots and get the damage done here. Tig gets engaged on him yet again, but goes straight for the whole hog. He's booped back and there's a bubble in the way, and now the Graviton Surge pulls him in, but no one can respond to it quite yet. But that's Shadowburn. He's going to come straight through now, and when he's got Dragon Blade, heads are going to be rolling, and he gets himself 3. Now going to deal with the shield generator, and this should be FaZe getting a foothold.
Yeah, so dropping the shield generator down early there might have been a bit of a mistake. Maybe wait for that fight to start to develop, which is super risky as Symmetra, but if you lose two right away, you can bring them back with a teleporter. So they had that shield generator down for quite a long time. It's just one of those slightly nuanced plays you can look at for Symmetra. There are some Symmetras who will just hold it until they see what the next fight is going to develop into. Again, super risky, because then you have the chance of just dying before it goes down, but a teleporter might have saved that first point for him. Regardless, 5 minutes left to push in last.
Look at this aggression as well. FaZe are not stopping for anyone. There's Fact Fiction already going in. He's trying to make use of Mikey's barrage, but it's going to be mostly shielded out by Sickness there. The defensive matrix eats a lot of those rockets. In fact, Forsaken, going now in for a Transcendence. Oh, that's nasty. Sickness comes in off the side. It's going to be exit stage left here for FaZe, and the triple coming through from the Diva. That's got to hurt.
They simply don't have the shielding to deal with self-destructs. It's going to be a problem for them in this composition against a Diva nearly every single time. Sickness comes over the top. You saw 3 people there, saw it coming, couldn't get away from it. Not enough shielding. Also, a couple of people frozen on the point too, but that is going to be an issue with this composition if they continue to run it. Self-destructs and Earthshatterers will continue to find purchase.
Yeah, again, just a lack of desire to play the Reinhardt here may be an issue. I mean, there is shields available for FaZe, but they're just always put in the enemy backline by Fact Fiction, trying to stay alive while he raises health. So, Decop now does have his shield up in front. Sickness taking an upward position now on top of that pillar. And Fact Fiction goes in again. It's going to be Shadowburn coming with the Dragon Blade. This is important because he goes down first now. And Shadowburn's still looking for more. But Spo is so slippery, so hard to catch. But Shadowburn just gets the sword in as he tries to retreat back in towards spawn. It's traded out. Sickness does find him ultimately now there as well. And that's a big Earth Shatter. Huge stuff there from Decop. And that may be enough to secure things. But look at this. Fact Fiction's found him. Mikey's still a large up above. And now Spo just has to sneak onto the point and try for some stall here. He's lacking teammates sorely.
They do get a ticket. It's not the cleanest first fight that you want, especially assaulting Anubis last, but they've made it work, and the cleanup has been there. Taking on Forsaken, though, might be the trigger they need to put this back in the defensive favor.
Couple more kills for FaZe need to happen now. The Ana wall coming up might make life a little bit harder. Casper even has a Blizzard available. Mikey's going to go in with the barrage here. Gets himself 2 quick kills now. Grenade use on towards Raucus. Blizzard comes out more for zoning. Not many people recording that one at all. And Shadowburn and Mikey are able to work around the fringes of it and get killed. Shadowburn there with 2 yet again, doing a lot of work. Another sound barrier here from Raucus, making life so much easier for FaZe to hang around and finish the fight.
This Mei is just doing so much work just inside her ice block, not even getting damage or kills, but this is another self-destruct. They are able to get around it too. The positioning here for FaZe's offense has been brilliant to avoid the blizzards, to avoid self-destructs. They've been just kind of cleaning up on the outskirts of town. Spo does go down late there. It looks like they will be able to finish out this map about 30 seconds quicker than the Spicy Boys.
And we've talked about this aggression coming out from FaZe that we're seeing in their team comp, Slasher, which, I brought you in as well at the start of the round to give your thoughts on that one. Obviously, there's a bit of risk not having a Reinhardt there. Obviously, there's a bit of a risk not having an Ana. Do you think that worked out for FaZe quite nicely? I mean, obviously, they managed to finish faster, but are you satisfied with how they're using this composition?
May have lost Slasher.
He be dead. All right, well, we'll catch up back in with him.
I went to make some coffee, man.
Sorry, man. Well, did you watch that last half, though?
A little bit, They're just... I mean, it's FaZe being FaZe right now. If you're going to go get some coffee while they phase it up, I'm sure...
This is your esports show.
They made it work. They've made it work.
Slasher. Well, again, I mean, obviously, that's pretty clear to see. But we'll see if they stick with it here on defense. We actually kind of know that, well, FaZe will actually play something aggressive on the defense here. And you're always walking a knife edge here, not only if you're playing, less than 3 tanks, but also if you're playing an aggressive dive comp that's responsive on the defensive side here. But so far, so good. Confidence here, though, as well. But one slip could cost FaZe the match, despite them being ahead by 30 seconds here, Hex.
Right. Regardless of FaZe being FaZe, I'll tell you that there's so many reasons to like this composition here, and it's because of the 4-tank meta that teams are just so used to smashing face first into each other, and this composition is a completely different style. You have to defend and fight on all axes, left, right, behind, and above with Mikey in it too, and I think it's some teams are just really confused on what to do against it, and they're running Factor Fiction and Shadowburn in together nearly every time. Just the chaos of it has crushed teams.
Again, Casper is going to be set up, though, Hex, in the very nice little vantage point, and Mikey stayed too long in the air, was picked up, and now Shadowburn obviously needs to deal with Casper for the moment, but he's got a little bit more on his plate than just that. Spo comes rolling around the corner and takes him down, and now again, free reign for that Widowmaker. Raucus dropping here to Dream Casper, that's exactly what we need to see from him there. Pretty clean stuff coming in from the Spicy Boys here. Comfortable move on towards the point. They've got everything set up, freedom for the Widowmaker, and the kills are flowing.
Well, if that battle had gone the other way and, say, Mikey took down the opposing Widowmaker, then he would have had free reign of the skies, too. So it's a pivotal battle early on. Definitely favors the Widow to start things off. And with taking out the Pharah that they made, you only have to focus on the ground fight then. There was nothing to deal with the Pharah in consequence. Shadowburn was toying with the idea, but he got collapsed on quickly. So that Pharah absolutely paying off early on. And now we see it's going to be Casper switching back over to the Roadhog that crushed this last point for him last time.
Yeah, good to see him sticking with that there as well. The impact one pick mate is extreme. Decop getting picked off very quickly though. They're jumping into the fight. It's going to be a self-destruct to engage, but nothing's really getting caught up by that one now. I get a feeling that Dream Casper's waiting for another hook here as well. He gets it towards Mikey, picks him out of the air. That's a beautiful start now. He and Tid combining for 3 kills over the course of the last couple seconds, and the dream start to the fight has begun here, attacking on second point. Back Fiction throws himself in, isn't immediately hooked. It's Tig and Casper all the way to the bank.
I'll tell you what's so impressive about Casper, it's not just the hooks, it's that he always gets a follow-up kill too. He gets the hook kill and then someone will be in and he'll just right-click him. These kills are coming much faster than the hook cooldown is, which means he's doing a lot of work with his primary.
We'll have to get a stat on that one as well, how often the kills are coming, and we can sort of guess whether it's hook or not. But Shadowburn's run himself on towards the point, but he's just him. The wall comes up, trying to keep himself alive. And Forsaken, Zoomyada, trying to keep this one going for FaZe here, but it's going to be a struggle. They're lacking teammates, not many people to benefit from the healing from Transcendence, and then Decop turns up the heat. It's going to be the scrap gun going nuts as Casper comes in with a whole hog here. Hook doesn't connect on towards the enemy Tracer. It's Zoms, but Fact Fiction also coming in with a Sombra. Didn't last very long either. Now Sound Barrier for 2 people. That's the desperation here for FaZe. It may not be enough though. Raucus trying to toll, just going to jump around the main pole, and now the main again gets on towards the point. Wall up, Shadowburn stalling, but it's not going to be enough.
We will get it into overtime. No blue on the left side of the kill feed is what you want to look at in these situations. They need to start getting 1 or 2 kills, and even in those situations you can bring it back, but it has been all red. This is still going far too long. There's a couple more kills from Tig as he adds in the triple zoning. Self-destruct should be able to close this out, but here comes Forsaken in now on the Winston. The parade continues, finally closed out.
Well, I mean, yeah, in just over 2 minutes, or just under, in fact, we'd see 2 points caught up here for the side of Spicy Boys. That's called rising to the occasion. Really nice work, and this time Casper didn't really have any qualms about picking up the Roadhog straight away. But that's impressive stuff, because that's a fight that went for sometimes longer than we actually see successful fights on second. Sometimes it's either you just dash the enemy aside very, very quickly and then just hold off. 3 separate waves of FaZe were received and dealt with in the course of that fight to almost no casualties.
Yeah, I really am impressed with what Casper is doing on the Roadhog, because you expect a kill from a Roadhog about every 6 seconds. That is the hook cooldown, and hook is, being tweaked and worked on, but essentially, to top level players, especially against this composition, right, where there's no shields or anything, and there's just targets everywhere for you. But he was getting a hook kill, and then someone would be trying to flank him, and then just, simple click and taking him down. So his kills are coming in bunches of 2s and 3s, which means he's doing so much damage without the aid of the wonderful hook mechanic. It does look like they're going to try their luck at Widow as well early on, as Zoms will play that, and we've seen what a big impact she can make with early picks.
And what's interesting about this is that Zoms was intending to play Widowmaker, or at least it seemed that way last time FaZe attacked, but he made a last-second switch towards the Zarya. So definitely a change in approach here for FaZe. They realize they need to get something cooking, and they need to do it quickly. Triple DPS? No, Tracer. Okay. Still triple DPS. Very much a dive composition here. Very aggressive. We'll see if it pays off. It's going to have to work pretty darn quickly, though.
Yeah, it's where can the support for Factor Fiction come from? He does knock them off the early ledge. That's a nice start for initiating tanks. They're all pushed very far back into the corner now. Oddly enough, they're not running a Symmetra on this first point. I thought they might have gone for it, but that is Casper shutting down Shadowburn to start this fight.
And they can't even punish him for it. That's the thing. They're trying to jump on Casper, but the rest of his team is going to follow up. They're going to join that Roadhog up on that high ground, and an attempt for FaZe to try and catch that Roadhog out of position after he's so aggressively pushed in to get the hook on towards a Genji falls flat on its face.
Yeah, able to take them down. Now they're going to hold up this. Another late pick takes down Zoms. That is going to stagger their next attack. Buck 45 left on the clock, so not a whole lot of time to work with here. Ultimate's also in a pretty rough spot, too. Can Zoms get a hero pulse bomb? Taking out Cozy with a pulse bomb could win the fight for him alone.
He needs to stick it though, and there's so many different height levels here to deal with, to put it very simply, for Zoms to really find that key target. And sure, if he gets Cozy, fine, but it's going to be tough to do. Anna's never going to really be sitting out there.
There they go.
You Forsaken, that's a peel on towards Casper, despite there being a Reinhardt shield in the game, so that's nicely picked off, and now that's the go signal. The starter's pistol goes off, FaZe need to get into the fight. Sickness is nano boosted, he gets pulse bomb, but sort of eats it up pretty comfortably here, still in his suit, but he's lost decop. They're working around the sides of this D, but finding the other crucial targets. Cozy being pressured very, very heavily by Shadowburn, gets the grenade on him there, but eventually he's going to fall down. It's going to be Mike to get the shot in now. Under a minute left here for FaZe, but they're going to at least have this first point.
Yeah, and as much as we have praised Casper being the first death in that fight really hurt them, and it absolutely did not need to happen. He was hanging out in his Reinhardt's pocket. He was sitting right next to him, walked through the shield forward while he was discorded, ate a rocket, then an orb, but none of that had to happen for Casper there. A small mistake led to that fight being pretty one-sided.
And it seems as if some of these fights are hinging on whether you can punish Casper or not. That first fight where Casper got the hook on towards Genji wasn't punished, or at least not effectively enough, but this time it looks as if the weak point on the side of Spicy Boys was found, but now FaZe, they've got no time to search for those weaknesses. They've got to go in, they've got to fight. Zoms is going to get taken down early on, but Mikey and Shadowburn making it happen. Sound barrier on the point here. Shadowburn with Dragonblade getting to make good use of that one. Decop forced out. It's going to be an Earth Shatter in though, but he can't follow up and get the kill on the Wolves Forsaken. Good start for FaZe.
A really nice barrage. They're being very creative. Oftentimes we just see the Ana helping people out with their ultimates, but it has been a transcend to keep a barrage alive. Sound Bearers are helping out Dragonblades. Really creative use of supports by this FaZe team, and they're absolutely cleaning up. Not going to be able to get on the point. The wall works against Tiggs May. Mikey cleans her up. Are they going to be able to do this? It is the last gasp, though.
Oh, Sickness now. He's the only guy on the point at the moment here, trying to stall out of a little bit. Casper's going to walk up there. It's not going to be enough. And we're going to go again, Hex, there. It will be FaZe just getting it done. Such a Herculean effort, really, from Spicy Boys to finish as quickly as they did. But now we're down to final attempt. It's going to be a minute and a minute 10 on the clock, respectively, for these two teams. And, well, they band down to two CP maps, and it's going all the way.
Welcome to Anubis. Mikey just did not miss a rocket for about the last 2 minutes of that game. Spo was trying to wall ride, got knocked off there. So he's been playing a really nice Pharah. Always warms my heart to see a good Pharah, but it'll be interesting to see if he even runs it here, knowing that they're going to run an offensive Widow. They've done it every single time, Casper has, and he got deleted early on and never got back into the fight on first point.
And how do you deal with this? Slasher, how do you deal with Casper now on this Widowmaker, besides hoping he doesn't hit his shots? We've seen Shadowburn's actually been incapable of shutting him down the last couple defenses for FaZe.
I mean, he is really on Genji, which is a pretty decent counter to Widow. I mean, they could always run D.Va, and they actually might do it this time. No, they won't. But I mean, there are very easy options for them to make. They're just deciding they're going to go hard mode. And they actually did have Winston and Genji before. So the Widow really wasn't as much of the problem, other than them not having any front line at all. It does look like FaZe is going to elect to have a decently normal comp with Shadowburn on Genji, not taking all so much chances.
And more importantly, Reinhardt for Fact Fiction here as well. He's played Winston the whole of this map so far, but now a bit more sensible here. We'll see if this catches off the Spicy Boys and see if they can make something happen there. Shadowburn a little bit caught out, but managed to get away to safety, and now we'll be grouping up towards the middle of the map, and no time wasted here for Decop. High ground control is his. Now he's going to push on towards the point. Tig in tow.
Yeah, Casper is getting knocked off of his perch, not able to find the angles, but that is a couple nice kills from Sickness there as we start. Shadowburn versus Casper is the fight that's going to start in the back lines here. Shadowburn gets the best of it. Finally,
he wins that fight out, but the rest of the Spicy Boys are working on this point at the moment here. Sickness is off towards the sides, Decop is still at large. Mikey tries to get the hook on towards Winston, but it catches the shield, and both tanks now getting those two quick kills. It was Zoms and Shadowburn to go down now. A quick breather being taken from Mikey, and now it's going to be Fact Fiction getting on towards the point. The reinforcements are on the way, but will they be enough? It's going to be Raucous as well, and Forsaken gets there as well on that Lucio. Self-destruct goes up for Sickness. Oh, it doesn't catch anyone. In fact, Cozy goes down to Forsaken. It's responded. Tig gets on the kill.
Some of these kills just need to be happening faster, though. Kosi got slept, and Biogrenade was able to live very, very long. Forsaken had to dive him and put himself in a rough position to get cleaned up, too. There's been so many times, so many people near death, not able to get cleaned up. Tig is in here now. Mikey A gets a couple kills. Only 3 alive for now for Spicy Boys, but they are all congregating on the point here, and now the respawns are probably not going to come in time for FaZe. That should be first point unless Zoms has a miracle play in his pocket.
Well, he gets Sickness out of the suit now as well, but it's going to be 1v4. In fact, 2v4, but it's a sound barrier on the side of the enemy team, and Spicy Boys are going to be able to hold on. Forsaken is just brushed aside now. In a quick 30 seconds, it's just one chance going to be available here for Spicy Boys to get on towards this second point. It's going to be a tough one. They have no ultimates left to rely on. We'll see how they go.
Casper with the insta switch to Roadhog, and why not? It has worked out so well for him. D-Cup's going to jump in right side. I imagine they're going to try to rush in over there as well. Defensive posture being taken up now as they did switch to a Mei on the defense.
Well, again, already in the back line, it is going to be a bit of a big old Winston. It's D-Cop getting the primer age there. Shadowburn trying to make his own impact felt with the Dragon Blade and Anubis combined. But it's actually Zoms headlining this fight. He's found Casper and Kosi already now, and you can see him sat back up on towards the point. Mikey and Forsaken get the kills they need to. D-Cop, the last man standing, will set up on the point. The Tesla cannon falls loose. It rolls down the ground. It's going to be 5 points to 4. And now, we may still have a draw in our hands. It is possible that FaZe need that first point. That needs to be their first port of call, and they've got a minute and 10 seconds to get it done.
Switching sides.
Draw is a distinct possibility, but we're essentially only going to get 1, maybe 2 fights to decide it here. So it's going to be kind of unique to see what comes out here on the defense if they want to run anything super defensive. Sometimes you get cheeky, run a Torb or Sim in this situation, although Sim less so because you're not going to have the time to build up the ultimate very likely. But it looks like they're just going to run pretty standard stuff here on their defense. The one character of note being Casper on this Soldier 76 instead. He'll probably just be trying to get high ground and holding that forever. Is this finally the time, Uber, where Zom stays on the Widow?
Well, I mean, again, he's been teasing it. You know, we saw him go to the Tracer last time, and it was okay. It had its impact. They eventually took the point, so who's complaining? Again, it's a Reinhardt-less team composition. There is a diva in the mix, though, and Zoms will have to respect that, because I guarantee you, Sickness will be making a absolute beeline for both Zoms and Mikey. But triple DPS on the attack for FaZe is not unheard of. In fact, it's getting pretty common for our eyes. We'll see how it works out. They're going to be having the Winston, of course, on Fact Fiction. I don't really think we should be expecting anything different from him now as well. 3 tanks. Tig, of course, are going to be up on that Roadhog. Casper has relinquished that one for the time being, so he can play 76. And D-Cop set up on that high ground position on top of the window box here to get the jump, literally, on FaZe.
Yeah, Zoms does come off it. He's on the Tracer instead, so no Widow yet again. It's going to be watching to see where... Watching to see... Like, I was quick on that pause. Sick pause.
That was nice. Yeah, good on you having to cast and pause at the same time here as well. So Spo DC'd briefly. Yeah, Hex is controlling the lobby and doing the administration here, guys, as well. So juggling a few responsibilities here, but Spo's back apparently, and we can get back underway. That was interesting. Very short drop, but back in the game here as well.
Spo got mad at me earlier, so I wanted to make sure I hit that pause.
Well, I mean, he's got a long pro gaming pedigree here, so I'm not surprised he's quite demanding. You do a great job, Hex. Don't worry about it. Zoms falls first, though. Tig the hook again finds its mark, but Mikey manages to find Casper. That's the only DPS hero on the side of Spicy Boys who was standing. Now they need to back away, use their tanks. Hope Tig can get a bit of damage of his own here, because Mikey's causing so many problems from up on high, and Forsaken picks Cozy out of the mix.
Yeah, really nice. The targeting has been absolutely brilliant. They're getting discorded and deleted. They're running 3 in against 1 every single time. The discords have been there. Sickness should probably be getting that orb sometime momentarily to be able to take him out. He does get fed the discord orb. Casper comes in very late. Mikey makes short work of him, and they will take this first point. They will have 1 attempt to close out the map and force a draw.
Oh, the irony of banning out every King of the Hill map and then sort of risking going into one now because you draw out 2 CP. It may be the way it goes here for both these two teams. Time will tell. It's only 30 seconds though as well, so that egg timer has not been wound up very much at all. Shadowburn going over the water side, as is Mikey, and Fact Fiction. The triple threat dive comp paying off so far. They get 1 kill. Mikey finds Tig, gonna get the barrage raining down, and Sickness gonna struggle to get rid of the damage coming from the Tesla cannon with that defensive matrix. It doesn't do a thing, and this is beautiful stuff from FaZe here. It might just not be the draw, it might be the win in the map. They're on the point, they're looking solid now. They've got all their players, and it's gonna be drips and drabs coming in from the Spicy Boys.
Mikey has been a monster. They do close it out to the relief of so many people who didn't want to see a draw, myself included. That is going to be FaZe tying up this set 1-1 on Temple of Anubis. And if you love assault maps, don't worry, we're headed to Volskaya next.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting affair even in itself there, but well, let's talk about this one a little bit there as well. FaZe really coming up with the goods there. The attack on the first point, I feel, is even probably the most relevant part of that as well. We didn't see a Widow. Zombs was going for that Tracer, but the target selection from FaZe, led by Forsaken with his orbs, was just so crisp.
Biggest difference for me is that Mikey, I don't believe, was that effective in the first map, and here on Anubis, he really got things going. And him hitting shots and him being able to deal out as much damage as Shadowburn can, along with the Discord, is putting them over the top of why they can sustain doing this triple DPS comp on this patch right now.
It's working well. We don't really often see Pharah, or like we do, but maybe not stuck to such a great degree here. But Mikey is definitely showing that it can work even up against the likes of, Widowmakers from Casper. He seems to, not even respect it so much. We're not even seeing a widowed Widow, mirrored Widow coming out for the side of FaZe here to try and counter that one here. So Volskaya, gentlemen, do I dare even ask you for any sort of predictions on how you expect to see this one go, given that we just don't see much of it at all?
Slasher, go ahead.
I believe he's going to have some more fun. FaZe been having fun all tournaments so far. I hear they've been having fun in practice the last week. And when I refer to fun, I mean let's just play Genji, Tracer, Pharah, without Ana or Reinhardt or Diva or Roadhog, and just whatever. Let's just go for it and just try to win games. They were obviously able to beat Denial, which we didn't see. That was off stream. 2-0. They're still able to make this 1-1. It's going to Volskaya. I mean, why not? Just go for it.
I do think, though, that the composition they're running, despite, why they're running it or anything like that, it does work well to close out these assault maps, too, because you have so much damage and you're covering every single angle. You can set your Tracer and Genji on one side, you set your Pharah on the other, and by the time they even touch the point, they're at, 10% health. So the amount of raw damage they can put out has, I think, helped them. We saw on Anubis, too, just close out the map in a lot of situations.
And when you combine the damage, like the pure damage that's available to them, with the ability to make good decisions in the start of a fight, make informed decisions and pick off correct players, we kind of saw this in essence from Spicy Boys in terms of Casper, right? Casper was just getting hooks, for the most part. That was how they would start the fight, and that's how they'd slant the numbers advantage in their favor. But when you look over the way that we're seeing it from FaZe, it's purely throw damage in, get Discord orbs down, pop those targets and go from one to the other there. And you notice that the first picks are often people like the Roadhog or the Reinhardt or, a crucial target there in the mix. And once you've done that against a team who's running 3 tanks and 1 DPS player and a Soldier 76 like we saw in that last map, Casper was the first to go down. You're going to struggle a little bit sometimes to cover that when you're going up against so much raw damage and a Pharah that now can't be touched because Soldier 76 is dead.
Yeah, and Roadhog is generally one of the worst targets, especially for what FaZe is running. I mean, there's hook potential for the Pharah and the Genji to die immediately, and then your comp is shut down so quickly. So that's generally going to be one of their primary targets. And Discord, of course, works actually very well in this composition against Roadhog, more than Ana.
The Discord was great, especially on their last first point attack. Everyone who had a blue dot above their head was living for maybe a second longer, but overall it helps do that kind of target coordination when you're calling like that. Of course, even without a Zenyatta, you can do that as well, but they were running generally 3-on-1s. They weren't taking fights or splitting it up. They would put 3 people on one person, kill them, and move on. And when you're not scattering that damage around, you can be much more effective, because the times when FaZe has struggled, they've let people live who should not be living, and they did not struggle with that on their last push on offense. So I think that's something to look forward to. That's why I love watching the Zen plays. It really does seem to bring a cohesion to the attack that sometimes teams don't have. I really
have to point out as well, to the credit of FaZe, that both their DPS players are playing, well, at least Micah and Forsaken, they're playing projectile DPS heroes on high latency. Now, of course, in Overwatch, it's not as bad, but it still makes a big difference. It's something we always talk about with Shadowburn. It's like that's been his bread and butter for so long, playing these, projectile DPS heroes, and he's been on the FaZe roster for quite some time. The same from Mike. I believe Mike's from Wales. So again, not exactly the best latency for them there, but they're still making it work. Sometimes we see that Pharah be very effective and sometimes not, but it probably has nothing to do with that fact, more the fact that, Mike's able to get around those shields a little bit easy here. Boys, Volskaya, Maybe we don't want to talk about it, maybe we do, but we kind of have to anyway because we're looking straight down the barrel of it here. That first point, it reminds me of the last map at DreamHack. Of course, it was NIP versus Fnatic there in that semi-final. Do we see a bit more hit scan from defending teams? That's obviously what we saw Fnatic do so well against NIP. Do we expect anything weird up on this first point at all?
I shouldn't overstay my welcome.
Well, I mean, I think for me, it actually tied into FaZe. I mean, Mikey is known as a soldier player in TF2, which is a projectile, because you shoot rockets. So him being on this team still does not exactly fill the hole of 2easy not being there and 2easy being their hit scan player, who also flexed onto a very good Roadhog. So we're not actually sure if Mikey will be able to fulfill this role, which every team really does need in competitive Overwatch.
Well, they're going to run a couple hit scans. I think that's smart. When the map is going to give you this high ground as a defender, you might as well just take it. They're not going to hold that choke, which is what people do on ladder. Essentially, they're going to either hold left or right side up top, perhaps even both. But this kind of split hit scan defense is interesting. And they've got Zombs on one side and Forsaken is going to be there to help him out. And then they're going to put Mikey and Fact of Fiction there. So essentially setting up a shooting gallery with Shadowburn just dancing around the center.
It's similar to how we did see Fnatic deal with NIP actually back at DreamHack. That's how they deconstructed them here, working from both these two ledges, really making it hard for them to know where to go. Now, we're going to see that Mikey has to be very, very careful here. It's going to be a direct push coming out from the side of Spicy Boys here. Mikey's knocked back. He's knocked to the low ground as well. A good start and very good positioning established by the attacking side.
Yeah, they've just absolutely taken away the high ground advantage that they have. Forsaken is in trouble. He's got to find his way out of there. I don't think he's going to be able to live. Somehow gets out of there. A beautiful sleep dart keeps him alive, and Shadowburn takes down Kazi. Forsaken got to be thanking his lucky stars right now.
Yeah, very fortunate there. Nice stuff by Raucus. Sleep dart definitely paying dividends here. But Shadowburn, give him time to shine, and he's definitely going to make life very hard for you now. As Teague just sheepishly trying to back away, really, but not much he can really do. Spo actually going to be able to get out of this one here as well. If he's not cut down by 76 at long range, Spo is cut down at long range. Can't get the wall ride through, and it will be chased down. Not the end of the world here, but a very interesting opening, I think it's safe to say, from Spicy Boys.
Yeah, I really just love their positioning here. And even though they got bullied out of their positioning, just really good support on support action to keep each other alive there. I just really thought Forsaken had got himself in a bad spot, got greedy with a charge shot, but was not punished for it. They're just going to rotate around, try to take this upper right side, but now they're just going to be opening themselves up to bullets as they try to get in through. And now the rotation comes across, and I think both teams will just stare at each other across this bridge for a bit.
Yeah, again, it might be a battle of breaking Reinhardt shields, but so far, Fact Fictions was looking better, but he gets knocked down. Does catch Sickness with a charge, but a quick shield from Tig going to prevent most of that damage actually from coming through. Well, you heard that sound. You're pretty familiar with it by now. It's Shadowburn striking fear of the heart of his enemies with the Dragon Blade, but he's caught. Brilliant Earth Shatter coming out. It predicted the movement coming forward, and there was maybe 4 people caught in it. Fact Fiction now really trying to make up for that one here as he's lost Shadowburn already, and it will be phase set up on towards this point again to hold.
I do want to give some credit to Sickness, though. He's been playing non-stop D.Va, and he has D.Va as a point of contention a lot, but his movement and just knocking people off edges has been absolutely pivotal to start these fights. They've not capitalized on it, but to be able to knock Factor Fiction out of position twice now to begin these fights, again, the capitalization has not been on there, and they're separating him, and then the DPS go wild, but I think he's been playing a really nice D.Va. Gonna have his self-destruct here momentarily. We're definitely entering the ult phase of this game.
Yeah, a lot of those now for both sides. Neither team really willing to use those ultimates en masse now, less to give away an advantage. But Sickness, I'm very interested to see how he wants to employ this one. Will he hold it till late in the fight? It's kind of hard to engage with the self-destruct in this case now, but that's attack visor. That's going to be Shadowburn going down early. Oh, Forsaken was too late coming in with the Transcendence. Wasn't able to save his Genji, and now it's going to be Sickness and Decop eventually finding Forsaken, and the rest of FaZe will get this point now. It took them a reasonable amount of time. They've got 1 minute left on the clock, but the shock and awe factor, the ultimates brought into the fray, is going to give them that first point.
Yeah, simply just had a better usage of their ultimates there. I imagine that Forsaken wishes he could have a couple more seconds to have hit that Transcendence, because he had the answer to the attack visor, unable to bring it up there. They are going to get themselves in decent position here because they all did die at once, that the defense is going to be holding on, but 4 minutes added to the clock, 4:30 now for them to close out this last point. And as difficult as first point is to take, I dare say the last point is even more difficult than that.
And Spicy Boys respect high ground so much that they're going for it yet again. Sickness actually got knocked to the ground, and now an Earth Shatter as well is going to make it doubly hard for him to get up and defend his team. A bit of a hasty Earth Shatter from Decop, probably trying to catch Shadowburn, but doesn't get him. And Shadowburn's able to get into the back lines and deal with Casper. Now with Mikey finding Sickness here, it's a little bit difficult for any more progress to be made here for the Spicy Boys, and they're going to have to hot-tail it out of there.
Now, Vector Fiction looks for a late kill, diving deep in there, but that is a full hold so far on this last point for our friends of FaZe here. They're running a Ana now. Zoms is still on that 76. Mikey's actually, you know, the question came in, can he play that McCree? He's had some pretty nice lives in McCree. Hasn't necessarily been game-changing, but you know, all you really want for your McCree is to be on that cleanup crew, and he's cleaned up the kills that they've needed.
Yeah, no one's going to throw him first into the fight. He's not an engager. He just needs to do damage and stay safe. The last thing you want to have to do is, you know, overcommit to babysitting a McCree now, but it might have to be the case here. The aggression coming through, a little bit hard for Mikey to deal with, but again, he's attracted so much attention from Decop that Zoms is able to clean up the rest of the Spicy Boys, again forced to back away. Again, lack of Reinhardt, you know, Fact Fiction, you know, wasn't really in position there, but lack of Reinhardt can make it very, very hard sometimes to defend your team, and this dive composition is all well and good, but if a Soldier 76 has an off angle, a side angle on you, and you don't have a shield to point in his direction, you're just going to have to eat the damage.
It's up to Sickness to shut down that 76, and he was just too far in and far behind. He was trying to get the Matrix onto Zoms, but he was behind him, and it was just a little bit too late. The damage had already been done. Casper's set up here on the Roadhog. They don't necessarily see him, though. He's going to be looking for a pretty cheeky hook here.
Yeah, coming from the front side, was hoping to maybe catch someone as they move through the front gate. Doesn't connect with Zoms up on the high ground, and now he might be focused down here. You can see Shadowburn forced away. It's going to be the nano boost on towards Decop, just to make the reception that much more shocking, and an attempt now for Forsaken to keep Fact Fiction alive. The Transcendence does its job, but now, after it, it's going to be a Graviton Surge. A self-destruct. Oh, no shield, and Sickness gets another free piece. It's his second for the series, and that's going to really hurt now. It's going to be, again, the push on towards a point looking much better this time for Spicy Boys, and Shadowburn can't do too much than just linger around 2 out of 3 of those markers, and now Zom throws himself at the point, but it's just not going to be enough.
Well, they do have Mikey here, comes out on the Divas, gonna buy some time, but you gotta see kills on the left side. That is an enormous Earth Shatter, but is there going to be anyone alive to take advantage of it? Vector Fiction does pick up one forward on the ground there. That Earth Shatter might have saved them this last point.
The Dragon Blade as well through from Shadowburn, actually really cutting those tank health points pulls quite low. But again, the second wave, the second coming here. Spicy Boys again going to be going for the push, and another attempt here for Dren Casper. He's going to be getting himself the whole hog and catches Mikey as soon as he gets desuited there. No one really on the point except for Forsaken.
He's been hiding
the whole time. Still a tough one. A wall comes up. Shadowburn hopes to keep himself safe on the point. It's not going to do the job though. A minute and 32 left here on the clock, and Spicy Boys love going up for those balconies, love pushing the high ground, but ultimately, I mean, a down and dirty fight on the low ground was what gave them this round.
They like to force the fight onto the low ground. So many times they take the high ground and then just knock you off and realize that if they can take a fight down there, they're going to be in good position. But they do prioritize taking the high ground away from the defenders, and I think that's a smart, just general strategy in how to play Overwatch. Slasher, what'd you see there?
I mean, same thing as Temple of Anubis. If FaZe can get the momentum going with triple DPS, which is really the whole point, and is a similar reasoning why Misfits, both the old roster and new roster, have tried to do the same approach. If you get things going and you get your ults going, you can kind of just run over teams because you have so much damage. They're trying to play very long-range hit scan, make Spicy Boys follow them around the upper part of Volskaya, and if that works, it works. But on the other hand, you can get run over, and then it becomes very hard for you to ever be able to take, you know, any type of front line. And almost the exact same time as Anubis. They were able to pull it out in the end, but it's just very difficult for them right now.
Triple DPS, name of the game for FaZe, as we were talking about. We'll see if they're going to bring that to the fore here. They've got a lot of DPS locked in at the moment. Forsaken, of course, going to make a switch over towards that Zenyatta. Now, at least for FaZe, they know sort of what time they're working against here. They've got a very aggressive composition. Again, you should be expecting this now if you're Spicy Boys, this unbridled, DPS combo coming in. 3 of them, the Tracer, of course, the Genji, and the Pharah. We'll see what this Winston can do now. Fact Fiction hoping to mix things up. It's going to be a lot of tanks here, to say the least, for the side of Spicy Boys.
I'm now a fan of FaZe, despite if it works, if it's meta, if it's off meta. It's something new. Let's praise FaZe for bringing out the triple DPS. I kind of hope for it to work. At least, something a little bit different. And I've been really enjoying, despite loving Pharah and liking Tracer, I've been really enjoying watching Factor Fiction play on his Winston. His engages have been getting so good, making so much space for his flankers.
Again, he's done the same thing. Jumped straight on towards Decop and he's forced Tig away already in the fight. This has allowed Zombs to get in on towards Spo and pick him off in the back line, but it's been 2 for 2 so far in this fight, because again, Casper giving a good account of himself on that Roadhog. Mikey was the last one to go down there, and Zombs is going to be sandwiched if he's not careful on this point, quickly absconding off towards the side, allows Shadowburn to come in. Decop turns his shield for 1 second, and Shadowburn comes in with a swift strike, gets the kill, now dashes up and towards the high ground, and Sickness having to hold this one on his own. So far, so good. Defense Matrix up to stall. If anything, for the Pulse Bomb, going to desuit him.
Yeah, you're totally happy if you're FaZe right now how this went out. Trades early on are absolutely great for you to be able to make this fight continue to go on the way it did. They were going to get reinforcements much faster. Zom staying alive seems like a small thing, but a big deal there. Able to desuit and take out the Diva very quickly. So that is a very successful first attack for all these DPSs, and it looks like it might be Shadowblade time.
Yep. Yes, indeed. No Ana, of course, so we're not going to see no Nano Shadowblade, but we know what he can do even without that ultimate to set up and facilitate. He'll flank, he'll find the kills. He does reflect the hook coming in towards him from Casper, so that's a good start. This is going to allow Fact Fiction to come forward, knowing there's not going to be any hook forthcoming. Even Mikey's got a lot of freedom up on high, and with Cozzy falling down first, that's support missing for the side of Spicy Boys, and Mikey gets on towards Sickness. This is looking extremely good for FaZe as they push forward now. Tactical was still alive, but he may as well have been dead at that stage. Was forced right away, and Decop wanted to drop the hammer covertly from the backside. No follow-up and no chance to stay alive.
When this works, it works so well that it looks so frustrating to play against. This chaotic composition of Winston in your face, Velociraptor, Tracer, and Genji from either side, and then if you somehow manage to get away from that, Mikey's just raining death from above on you. When it works, and when they get those kind of compositions rolling as it does, it looks like the most frustrating thing in the planet to play against. I mean, take advantage of the fact that tanks don't have the mobility and can't defend themselves from all times, and they just crushed them.
And again, the big parallel between the composition we're seeing from FaZe and what we saw from Misfits at DreamHack, the biggest similarity is that you have a Genji and a Tracer. They're being annoying, they're flanking, they're staying out of arm's reach. And you're facilitating your third DPS, who for Misfits was a Widowmaker. In this case, it's a Pharah here for FaZe to do a lot of damage. Shadowburn is always going to get his Dragon Blade up if he's going to be able to chip damage at medium to long range. And then you're too busy dealing with a Tracer and a Genji that you've got a Barrage coming down, one of the most impactful moves in the game, if it's not predicted or accounted for. There's too many threats to deal with on the ground.
And so there's so much softening them up, too. I mean, we talk about this jump in, but he's landing those jumps, which softens them up, gets a 3-target Tesla cleaves, and then if they're half health on that, they eat a rocket, and then they're in perfect range for Shadowburn to get dash resets, for Zoms to pick off people with Tracer as well. So it's really all has to work in concert to take them down to an acceptable health level to make your flankers work as well as they're working. It's pretty to watch when it's running at full steam.
Well, we are going to have the double hit scan yet again here. To me, Mikey and Zoms is probably going to be working from both sides, and we know what Spicy Boys like to do. We know they love to work this high ground, but this time FaZe are going to be ready for them. And Shadowburn, he's the vanguard. He's already spotted them out, pushing forward. He tries to get towards safety. He raises the alarm, but Forsaken was out of position. He almost got caught, but Casper falls down, and now Forsaken's traded out.
What did Casper think was going to happen? That Shadowburn was just going to ignore him and let him walk onto his supports? He just got absolutely crushed by Shadowburn. I don't understand that decision very much.
And it may have hurt them in a big way here. There's not a lot of time, to be going on with at all for Spicy Boys now. Spo and Sickness, though, are standing up, but the damage is still there for FaZe. It's Zoms, it's Shadowburn, it's Fact Fiction still up on the point with his shield up, taunting the enemy, daring them to come closer. And now Biotic Field put down by Zoms. It keeps him alive, and Casper struggling to connect the Shuriken at this stage. Decop going to throw a bubble down in an attempt to disengage for Zoms. It was a little bit too late here. He's going to have to back away. So is Fact Fiction, but there is time for another attempt at holding here. Yeah. Mikey needs to stay alive.
They're going to fight again. Factor Fiction's got to find a target here on this charge. He does not actually get into the house, which I think he was going for, but they have everyone alive here on this point. If they can pick up a couple of kills early on, this first point is definitely not over.
Spicy Boys are kind of split at the moment as well. They've got a few on either side of the building next to the center part of the map. But Decop coming back in could be very important, especially with Tick missing. But he doesn't land the jump. He doesn't really get onto a Fact Fiction either, who can just step away from him. And it is Shadowblade time. As expected, Shadowburn with 2 quick kills, going to force away the Spicy Boys. And that might be a nail in the coffin here, Hex. There's no chance to get any more damage done this half. We're into overtime. And now FaZe are going to have a huge amount of time just to get the first point of Volskaya to take the series.
I think Tig going down there was huge. He was actually having a really nice game early on. Not only did they take out Tig, but it allowed Shadowburn to get his dash reset, went right onto the Ana after that. That kill gave him the Dragon Blade, and then the rest is Shadowburn history there. So, I don't know, maybe this meta just really works well on these kind of maps. Slasher, do you have anything insightful to say, or is this just FaZe being FaZe?
No, I actually believe you are right, and that them running this triple DPS style, it is harder to do on defense. Of course, on offense, we've seen dive comp be used through, for a very long time, which this is a general pretty similar style when they have the Pharah and the Genji, especially with no Ana. Defense is the harder way to play it. Now, double hit scan, of course, is a very good way to do it, but if you can hold out long enough on defense, even though they actually lost the first time of Spicy's offense with 2 minutes left, they were able to run their offense so much faster by snowballing that into CP and in this game mode, it actually lends it to be a little bit more safe of a tactic. That you could run this risk of running triple DPS. Even in the new patch, I think tanks are going to still be really good, and the triple DPS is probably still not going to be a prominent comp run for all the teams, but they have more options to do that here.
I mean, you've got double, hit scan that can use the high ground effectively. It's their dream. And then so many opportunities for Shadowburn to use those ledges effectively. Just dash across them. It's very, very easy for him to access the front or the back line of the enemy team wherever he needs to go. Now FaZe need to come in on the attack here. Tig going to be on the McCree for possibly the first time today, if I'm not mistaken. And Fact Fiction goes in very, very deep. Shadowburn wasn't with him. Perhaps a little bit of miscommunication, because that Winston is popped very quickly.
Yeah, this fight's over. They should probably just get out now if they can, although Shadowburn and Zoms are about 2 miles away in the back line trying to get something done here. They should just prioritize staying alive, but taking out Spo, there is a beautiful trade if he can get it. He does get that trade.
That's it. And if we do see a little bit of quick movements coming out from FaZe, that might be able to exacerbate the lack of the Zenyatta for the next 10 or so seconds. Zom's
gonna
so
camp him.
cheeky. Oh, he's going to the backside. This is potentially risky, but could pay absolute dividends here as well. Have to see if Zoms can actually catch on towards Spo. Nothing you can do about it. He tries to go in with the Discord. He's getting a little bit of healing from his Anik here. Zoms does get the kill though, but now can he back out? Sickness is going to be on towards him, but he can't deal with Zoms because there's a fight happening over on towards a point. Perfect play from Zoms there. Gets in underneath the skin of the Spicy Boys, and it's going to take a lot of the heat out of that.
That was absolutely beautiful. The spawn camp to take down Spo. Probably why they allowed Shadowburn to take that deep dive and knowing it was a big gamble, but knowing if they were able to knock him down, they'd be supportless for the next minute or so, because Zoms was already 2 miles back on that point for whatever reason, so it was in perfect position to take down Spo. That's going to be GG. How much pressure do you think is on Zoms there? I mean, you've played enough Tracer to know, like, when you're one-on-one with the Zenyatta, you should win that. You don't always, but you should.
There is always, in the back of your mind, if I get Discord and a headshot, I am Ledunzo. You've got to be very, very careful. I think Discord headshot and a kick, you're in trouble there. You just don't want to take that risk. But how mad are you if you're Spo? You are so angry. There is no reason for Zoms to be there at all, especially on such a long map. But him being there is actually the key to unlock FaZe's strategy. And you saw Sickness thought about it. It's like, do I go for Zoms? I'm Diva. I can't really deal with the mobility of this Tracer. He had to go back to the point to help the rest of his team, and Zoms got away scot-free for that.
Spo actually should have been a little bit more aware, because they knew Tracer was still back there, and that of all the players to want to do this, Zoms is way high on the list of camping you in spawn with Tracer. So, that was a big part of that play, but they still had 5 minutes to go. It was going to be pretty rough for Spicy to hold on to that point. In any case, and really, if I'm Spicy, I'm a bit frustrated. I think they had the opportunity to put the series away 2-0 on Anubis, for it to go, 6-5, and for them to lose in that fashion. They had FaZe up against the ropes, even though FaZe is playing better by Anubis. But they really got their gears going into Volskaya and making triple DPS work.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this is a team that really wants to hang with the top teams. I mean, it's quite well known, actually, that they have had offers from orgs, and Spo said that, actually, in his interview. So these are the games and these are the opportunities that you have to distinguish yourself as a team. And I'm pretty impressed with them so far. I'm glad we're going to get to see more of them in this group, because I think they've got more to show.
Yeah, definitely a nice showing for them to be formally introduced. So I've just been hearing so much about we should get Spicy Boys. They've been playing really well. They're going to scrim, and I can see absolutely why. A lot of talent on this team. I'm just mostly just happy with FaZe right now. I'm happy to watch that brand of Overwatch. So thank you, FaZe, for that. Of course, our next match, I believe, will be FaZe versus Rise. ZP and Uber are going to take care of that. I'm just going to sit back and watch the show.
Yeah, no worries. We're going to have a quick break before we do that. We're going to bring the infirmed ZP back into the cast now as well. It'll be my last one of the night before Jason Kaplan joins us later on, so don't miss that one. Rise struggling a little bit here, and FaZe seem to be on the up and up, but we know it's FaZe, and you never know how long it'll be before they can make a bit of a weird downturn. They're an up and down team, but let's see if they can keep it going after the